I'd like to begin today's Dharma Talk with a quote and a case from the Blue Cliff Record. The quote is from the Buddha. Monks in the past and up to now, I teach only suffering and the cessation of suffering. I teach only suffering and the cessation of suffering. And the koan is the famous exchange between Tozan and a student. A monk asked Tozan, "Cold and heat come. How can we avoid them?" Tozan said, "Why don't you go to the place where there's neither cold nor heat?" "What is the place where there is neither cold nor heat?" the monk asked. Tozan said, "When it's cold, kill yourself with cold. When it's hot, kill yourself with heat." This koan really speaks about an important and central transition. It's this transition from suffering to a place beyond suffering. In studying this koan, when I enter it, I become the monk. And probably not a very good monk, because I would say, I hear what you're saying. Where there's suffering, don't avoid it. Turn toward it. Move through the suffering to liberation. Thank you. I got it. But Master Tozan, you don't tell me how to kill myself with heat or cold. You don't tell me how to move to a place where there's neither suffering nor no suffering. I probably would have been told to go back and practice more if I didn't get 30 blows, as they usually deliver to upstart monks. Or I might have been told to go figure it out on my own. So what I want to do today is explore this together. You know, like how do we move from suffering to a place beyond suffering? How do we move from suffering to ease? And I want to offer what you probably know we call in Zen an upaya. It's an expedient means. It's an effective variation or creative way to deal with our practice, and something that helps us develop in a way that's unique to us, both our wisdom and our compassion. And this approach to upaya is really based in the fact that one size in Zen, and by the way, in life, does not fit all. So we have to find our own unique way. So going back to this important transition, all of you probably know and intuit profoundly that this transition from suffering to beyond suffering is nothing different than the movement from the constraints and the turmoil and the pain and suffering caused by our narrow, discriminatory mind to an awakened mind. And you may have a really good glimpse of this and know that be it the small suffering or the gut-wrenching suffering that we encounter, that we're really held prisoners in small mind. Nothing narrows our attention more than suffering and pain. Nothing grips us and our attention and narrows it more than suffering and pain. And we're prisoners to it all. But what's really important is to figure out what is the passage for us, to move more naturally through suffering, be it small or large. And I want to situate this inquiry today as we share it, both in zazen, because this is really the laboratory for life. It all happens there. But also in your dealing with your inner teacher and outer teacher. So this is really work that's central to zazen, not to zazen, to zen and our life in zen. Because if we figure this out, if we find our way in this, we've touched into the very core of zen and transform our life. So what I want to talk about are several capacities that we need to cultivate, give time to, become familiar with. The first you know pretty well. We've been spending a lot of time. I always talk about it. And that's to really get to penetrate small mind. Tozan says, go to the place where the suffering is. And we know this judging, fight, flight, numbing, the grasping, the attaining and the maintaining, and always wanting more and never wanting the world to be the way it is. That we live in that brain so often. But in penetrating that, we really need to really get intimate with what are the thoughts? What are the images that come with it? What's the internal dialogue? What are the bodily sensations? What are the habitual patterns? What are the emotions that accompany it when we're caught in the grips of it? And then we penetrate it, as you know, without judgment, with curiosity, with compassion. And the key point here is that we viscerally get to know and make the connection between how discriminatory mind really creates, supports, and expands the suffering we're dealing with. To know it in our guts. And to, in some ways, really get an awareness that we're like that fish on a hook, that the more we struggle against it, the deeper the suffering goes, and that we're captive to it. But here's another dimension of exploring this and paying attention to discriminatory mind, because the mind that is observing it is not in pain, is not suffering. The mind with which we observe the suffering, front door to big mind, if it's not big mind itself, is not suffering. So that's the first capacity. The second is similar. Really, we need to also penetrate deeply big mind. And it's the same. We look at the sensations, the images, the thoughts, the felt sense of it in our body. But the reason for this is we need to know the difference of big mind and small mind. The third capacity, and this is a growing edge for all of us and something that we expand time after time, year after year, and that's to trust and really believe in our capacity to move from small mind to big mind. That moving into big mind is not some celestial visitation that strikes us now and again. No, it's an ability to move into what is always present. So this third capacity is to really to believe in that, to know that. Know it with all your heart and with your soul, your very being. Now this fourth and last capacity, this is where the rubber hits the road and is perhaps the most challenging. It's to find a reliable upaya, a reliable means that effectively helps us to make this transmission from small mind to big mind, from suffering into this place beyond suffering. You already do this in zazen, the laboratory for life, the laboratory for transforming suffering, because if we're really deep into suffering, this is where we go. This is where we begin to feel some relief, where we feel the suffering get transformed. But you know in your practice, the upaya that you use, and maybe you didn't put the words on it, maybe you didn't realize this, but the ways that you use to move into big mind, because that's all that zazen is. We're sitting there and all of a sudden we're doing the laundry list, or there's the parade of all those things that we need to do or want to do, or things that we are getting accused of by our small self. And we move out of that. We notice it, and then we move back. We might use our breath. We might go back to our posture. We might find ourselves counting. You might think of Suzuki Roshi's image of, oh, there goes those sheep again. I better open the corral, let the sheep find a place to sit. It might be, as for me, to use my mudra as a way to center. And you all might have your own ways. But these are all expedient means. But here's an important point. Yes, you should be bringing your suffering, working with your suffering in zazen. But when we get off the cushion, it's not gone, particularly the stuff that really grabs us around the neck and throws us to the ground. It's with us all day. Or even more subtly, those little ways that we're carrying anxiety, or some sense of defeat or hurt. Carry that into the day. So the question is, how do we move from the cushion to dealing with suffering during the day? So here is what I'm suggesting. You need to find your expedient means, one, or a primary one, that you use in zazen, but that you could use during the day. So for me, I go back to two things. What has liberated, transformed, supported my zazen is Dogen's very terse few words. Zazen is about joy and ease. So when I feel like I'm twisting myself in zazen around something and my mind is more busy, I would just go to that phrase and I actually say it to myself, joy and ease, joy and ease. And that phrase comes back to also the Sozan quotation that you've heard me use. The great way is being naturally at ease with yourself. So for me, the upaya that I work, and I carry it during the day, is I'll find myself saying, it becomes a little bit Pavlovian, joy and ease. I get caught, I'm moving into some activity where I'm finding myself getting tense or anxious or begrudging it or something. The whole catastrophe, as all of the Greek says. And I just remind myself, joy and ease. So that's my upaya. But I'm suggesting that you find something that works for you. Something that becomes habitual, that when things start to go a little bit bumpy, you have a way to move from narrow mind to big mind. And then you begin to notice actually that suffering is transformed. You already know this, I'm sure, on some level, but it's like the proverbial tablespoon of salt in a glass of water. It's very hard to drink. You shouldn't drink it. How different it is when it's a tablespoon of salt in the expanse, the big mind analogy of a pond. It's transformed. And we find when we carry it this way that nothing has changed, but everything has changed. And so this is not some teaching that is tickling us with some imaginary way of transforming suffering. It really transforms suffering. We're able to bear the unbearable. We're able to find ourselves letting go of all of the different ways that we actually put another layer of suffering onto our suffering. So may we, in our practice, in our day, find ways to live it with more ease, with more grace, to bear our suffering, to bear even the unbearable. And let's do this for ourselves, and more importantly, for the healing of the world around us.